In a stunning and rapid turn of events, President Trump abruptly declared a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, halting nearly 2 weeks of escalating warfare that had pushed the Middle East to the brink of a broader regional conflict. The announcement, made suddenly and without warning, shocked even high-ranking members of the U.S. administration and left world leaders scrambling to confirm the situation on the ground. After days of intense military confrontation, including U.S.-backed airstrikes that severely damaged 3 of Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities in Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, Trump's decision marked a dramatic pivot from confrontation to diplomacy. It was the culmination of secretive back-channel negotiations led by Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff, all of whom had been working intensively with both Israeli and Iranian intermediaries. The Emir of Qatar, acting as a neutral mediator, played a critical behind-the-scenes role in facilitating communication between Washington and Tehran. Trump's ceasefire plan followed a structured timeline. Iran would cease hostilities within hours, Israel would follow a few hours later, and both sides would fully stand down within 24 hours. However, the situation quickly spiraled into confusion. Within just 3 hours of the announcement, Israeli forces launched new strikes inside Iran, targeting strategic sites including areas near Tehran, prompting immediate retaliation from Iran. Iran responded by firing ballistic missiles toward Israel and U.S. positions in Qatar. Although most of Iran's missiles were intercepted or fell harmlessly, one reportedly struck near a U.S. base, triggering fresh concerns about the ceasefire's viability. Despite the declaration, both Israel and Iran appeared hesitant to fully commit to the terms. Israel remained officially silent, refusing to confirm the agreement, while Iran made its compliance conditional on Israel stopping all military actions first. The result was a fragile and uncertain truce, more aspirational than operational. While the Biden administration hailed the ceasefire as a breakthrough, experts warned that no verifiable terms had been published, no formal documentation exchanged, and no guarantee secured on Iran's nuclear stockpile, raising the possibility that Iran's uranium could still be hidden or rapidly redeployed. Intelligence analysts and defense officials also questioned whether Iran's infrastructure had been crippled or simply damaged enough to pause development. In the background, markets initially responded positively, with oil prices briefly dropping and global stocks ticking upward on hopes of de-escalation. Yet, geopolitical analysts warned this could be a temporary calm, not a permanent solution. Some even speculated that the entire sequence, from U.S. airstrikes to Iran's symbolic missile response, had been orchestrated for political theater, pointing to Iran's early notice warnings before launching missiles, and Qatar's unusual role as host and mediator. There were suspicions that the war had been strategically choreographed to pressure Iran diplomatically while giving Trump a high-profile victory without full-scale escalation. Inside Iran, sources reported rising tension between hardliners, eager for confrontation, and moderates pushing for relief from sanctions and isolation. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, reportedly facing pressure from military commanders and political elites, may have reluctantly agreed to pause hostilities to avoid total devastation and economic collapse. Meanwhile, in Israel, military officials remained prepared for further action, unwilling to let their guard down amid continued threats from Iran-backed militias in Syria and Lebanon. Trump, however, remained defiant and confident, branding the ceasefire as a personal diplomatic triumph, claiming it demonstrated peace through overwhelming strength. Still, questions loomed over whether the ceasefire would hold for more than a few days or devolve into renewed hostilities. The ceasefire lacked enforcement mechanisms, independent monitoring, or clearly defined red lines. With both countries still on high alert and no international guarantees in place, any future skirmish or misfire could reignite full-scale war. Additionally, the status of Iran's nuclear program remained unresolved. Inspectors had not been granted access, the whereabouts of enriched uranium remained unknown, and Iran's intentions were still unclear. On the Israeli side, leaders feared that a premature truce could embolden Iran to rebuild its facilities underground beyond the reach of conventional weapons. As the world watched, the ceasefire teetered on the edge of collapse, supported only by informal promises and temporary restraint. In Washington, some officials worried that Trump's announcement was more political than strategic, designed to deliver headlines and campaign momentum ahead of elections rather than secure a sustainable resolution. Critics pointed to the lack of transparency, lack of allied coordination, and the danger of making high-stakes peace announcements on social media without formal backing. Still, the announcement had undeniable short-term impact. It paused the cycle of violence, gave civilians brief relief from air raid sirens and rocket fire, and allowed diplomats a narrow window to push for something more enduring. Whether that window will lead to a genuine breakthrough or slam shut with another round of missiles remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. Trump's high-stakes gamble has reshaped the battlefield not just with bombs, but with bold, unpredictable diplomacy, leaving the world to wonder whether this was the end of a war or the calm before the next one.